All right, guys, here we are again, episode 4 of Hog Jacked, the podcast presented by Shipley Swine Genetics. I am Rick Snyder, alongside Randy Shipley and Mitch Dugan. We are going to talk about some kind of scientific stuff, so get out your pen and paper, take notes. Randy's got his pad out here. He's going to be kind of showing you, walking you through a couple things that we talk about all the time. We have had this conversation with multiple different people here. We're basically going to be talking about the different levels of crossbred genetics and why and what they are good for. So I will ask a question at the end, so pay attention all the way through. I'm going to have you guys write something in the comments there, and if you're paying attention, you might just win something cool. So basically, let's just get right into it. We are going to be talking about purebred genetics, F1, F2, F3, and so on. I'm going to turn it over to Randy here, and he can kind of tell you here what we're talking about.
Hi, guys. Guys, when I was probably in my mid-late 20s, and I hate to say that there was more opportunity at that time, but there probably was. There's lots of people and lots of really smart guys raising hogs, guys that have done it all their life, guys that were 70 when I was 20. Well, guess what? Things happen now. I'm 70. I've shared this with many, many people over the years. Guys, what we're going to talk about, the numbers are not 100% true. The idea is true, and that's the idea I want to get across to you guys. One of the most frequently asked questions at the boar stud on a daily basis, especially when you get into the heat of show pig semen, is which crossbred boar can you sell me semen out of that will make my pigs grow? And guys, cross has become quite an issue. That's the reason so many of the guys are now breeding and showing 7, 8, 9-month-old pigs instead of showing 5 or 6-month-old pigs like we used to. When we used to do it years ago, those hogs were ready at 5.5, 6 months. Of course, 220, 230, 250 is about where you wanted them. Today, there's many, many pigs that will not grow near that fast, and I just wanted to cover some basics with you guys so that you would understand genetics a little bit better. So I have drawn out several circles, and I don't know if you guys can see them or not, but basically on that page I've got 4 different circles, small to big at the bottom. So circle number 1 is going to represent the gene pool of a purebred hog. I don't care whether it's York, Camp, Duroc, Spot, you name the breed. And to get started, we have to apply a number. So let's say, just for easy figuring, that there's 25 ways you can make a pig with a purebred boar. We all know that's not true. It's multiple more ways than that. But for easy figuring, that's what we're going to talk about to start with. So with a pure hog, the average pure in the country utilizes about 55% of its God-given abilities to grow. They refer to that as heterosis. So the average purebred hog is somewhere around 55% of what he can do on his own, just God-given ability to perform is what he uses for growth. So let's talk about how many days to 250 is that? Well, here again, guys, these figures are somewhat made up, but they're somewhat factual at the same time. So let's say that there's 175 days to 250 pounds to get a purebred Hampshire Barra to 250 pounds. So 175 days. So, of course, 6 months is 180 days. So just a little less than 6 months. So that's getting long and growing pretty well. So there's 25 ways we can make a pig with this small gene pool, the very first one on top of the page. And those pigs are going to go to market in 175 days, weigh 250 pounds. And this is very true, but purebred hogs are about 55% natural God-given heterosis. So then, guys, you're talking about making crosses. So I don't know how many of you guys know this, but the first cross from pure, so York times Hamp, Tamworth times Spot, you name the 2 purebred breeds, those hogs are called F1s. That is the first cross from pure. And so they're referred to as F1s, have been as long as I've raised hogs, many, many, many years ago. Now, guys, every time you cross a hog, your gene pool gets bigger. And the figure that they always used, and the figure I'm going to use today, is if you breed a Hampshire York, or if you make an F1, your gene pool is going to get roughly 4 times bigger. So that number 25 that we started off with and talked about, how this is made up, but it's kind of important. So that particular figure tells us, well, if we breed 2 purebred hogs together and make an F1, all of a sudden there's 100 ways you can make that hog. If there's 25 ways to make a pure. When you do that, you're generating heterosis. So those hogs are going to go to market at least 10 days faster. They're going to grow faster. So let's say that they're 165 days old and weigh 250 pounds. So there's 100 ways you can make one, but their heterosis guide goes up 10, 15, 18%. So if the purebred hogs are roughly 55% heterosis, then those F1s are going to be roughly 75% heterosis. They're going to grow faster. It's going to be tougher. They're going to be more disease resistant. So they're just tougher hogs. So that's an F1. So what do we call an F2? Well, an F2 is a second cross from pure. So let's say we started with that Yorkshire, we bred her to a Hampshire, and then we kept those York Camp cross females, and we breed that back to a Duroc. That is a second cross when that hog was pure. So those are called F2s. So like I said, every time you cross a hog, your gene pool gets bigger. So when we're talking about F2 guys, our heterosis jumps up another 10, 15%. So we get up around 90, 95% natural God-given heterosis. What does that do for us? It allows those hogs to perform and be tougher yet. So if the purebred hog was 175 days to 250, an F1 would be 165, an F2 would be 155. Here again, guys, made up figures, but it gives you the right idea. So we've started, guys, with 25 ways to make that pure hog. And that's very important for you to remember that. So every time we cross it, we're multiplying by 4. So you've got that pure hog, and you make it, and you breed it Hampshire, we're making it F1. It goes from 25 to 100. You're keeping those F1 females to put in your herd, those York Camp cross females, and you're breeding it Duroc or whatever.
So basically what you're telling everybody, an F2 made hog was going to give you maximum heterosis?
Yep, and that's believed by about 99% of the industry. There are people that say F3 is a maximum. I don't think it is. I've never, ever seen that in my 50-some years of raising hogs, but some people believe that. But F2 is the majority of the world believes that F2 is maximum heterosis. You have a good point, Rick. That's right. So, guys, all of a sudden, we've got 400 ways, 25, 100, 400 ways you can make a pig. 95% heterosis or close to it. And all of a sudden, those hogs grow fast, and they're clear down around 150-some days to 250 pounds. So they're tough, fast-growing hogs. So, guys, this is what guys always used to use as their guide 30, 40 years ago, when guys had to make a living raising hogs. And they raised commercial hogs. They had 100 sows, and this is what they did. Regardless of what 3 breeds they used, they kept pure sows, they made F1s, and they made F2s. The F2s always went straight to market. Why do the F2s go to market, guys? Because of their gene pool, there's 400 ways you can make that pig. If you put another cross in there, so let's say we got a York, Hamp, Duroc, then we go back and we breed it with a spot. That is called an F3. That is the 3rd cross from pure. So we started with 25, went to 100, went to 400. Now all of a sudden, guys, we're up to 1,600 ways that you can make a pig just by adding the next purebred line.
And that's just purebreds. That's not if we take an F2 and breed it to a crossbred. We don't know what that F would actually even be.
No.
This is just a York, Hamp, Duroc, stock, whatever.
Yeah, each one of these purebred hogs, there's 25 ways is what we're saying to make a pig.
If you were to throw a crossbred in one of these matings, it
yep.
could go up to 1 million.
Yep, I got another page back here, maybe someplace. Yep. Maybe mention that again. So anyhow, guys, all of a sudden there's 1,600 ways. Your maximum God-given heterosis does not go up. It goes way down. So we talked about purebred hogs having a growability and a heterosis of 55%, F1 75, F2's 95 or close. When we make F3s, which would be a 4-way cross market hog, we'd jump right back down minus 50%. And you've seen that around here. I mean, it's just kind of how it works. So, guys, it doesn't mean you still won't have a hog grow fast in that litter, but you're going to range from 155 or 165 days, maybe clear up to 200 days. to 250 because you have so much separation, because you have so many different kind of pigs you can make in one litter.
So one simple way to put this is your consistency is kind of
Out the window.
out the window.
Yep.
When we're talking purebred hogs, our consistency is
Yeah.
very, very strong. We know what we can expect.
Right.
Each time we get these bigger circles, our consistency is just
Well, you you get the availability to make different type of things.
Mhm.
Yep. So hopefully that'll make sense, guys. So we started with 25. We went to 100. We went to 400. We went to 1600, guys. So if you go one more step farther and do a York, Hamp, Duroc, Spot, Burke, use your Burke as your daddy. Your next step, guys, is 6,400 weighs. So your heterosis is out the window. Your days to market, the bigger you make that gene pool, the circle representing a gene pool, the more separation you have. So maybe you're at 155 or 60 days for one pig in that litter to 250 pound, but it's 210, 220, 230 to finish out the litter. You get a lot of separation. The thing that I've always noticed, guys, and there's no scientific fact to it, just a thing that I've always noticed. Genetics and the ability to perform a natural God-given heterosis kicks in about 70 pounds. So you've got this really, really pretty litter. There's not 2 pound difference between all 10 pigs. Kids come and buy these as projects. You guys are selling club pigs, or you're keeping club pigs for your family. They come in and they buy these hogs. They take them home. They put them on feed. Maybe your very best feeder of the whole group got one of those pigs that won't grow very fast. Regardless of what he does, that pig just will not consume enough feed to put on pounds. So it's really easy to blame the kids for not getting their pig big enough. Boy, if Sally would have just taken care of her pig, she would have been big enough to give them the fair and maybe even won the darn thing, but she doesn't do a very good job. And so, her pig just didn't grow. Sometimes, guys, not true. And this is the reason. Every time, the more crosses, the more separation. So someplace back here,
there
guys,
will be pigs in the litter that will perform.
Oh, yeah, that's true, Rick. Yeah, 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean,
and then
just not the whole litter.
Yeah, just not consistent. Yep. So then, the next step, guys, are F1s, first cross and pure, F2, right on down the line, F5s, and that circle just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and your consistency keeps getting more and more out the window. So, guys, not to bore you guys with a lot of other stuff here. I don't even think you can see this on the camera, but these black exotic boars, crossbred boars, everybody in the country has them. Everybody in the country wants to use them. You have to have them. They're bred to make club pigs. They've got a little peat in them from generations back.
Pietrin.
The Pietrins, yep. They're big tops, big rumps, big whatever. So most of these boars would consist of a little Hamp, a little York, definitely a little Pietrin someplace back in there.
Probably.
Some of them could have a little Duroc. Some of them could have a little Spot. I mean, you could, whatever. So F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, F6. Guys, there's nobody that really, in most cases, even knows for sure. So all of a sudden, you're using a sire that's got a really, really big gene pool. The really popular thing to do is to have an exotic female. Guess what? She's a Hamp, York, Pete, blankety, blank. However many crosses there again. Who knows?
F1 million.
Yeah, right. I mean, just keep going bigger and bigger. So you're putting 2 extremely big gene pools together in one package. And yes, just like Mitch said, you can have, you could have some really pretty hogs. I mean, the way the mom and dad looks is going to have a big influence on the way the pigs look in terms of eye appeal. Trouble is, guys, when genetics takes over, those hogs are going to separate majorly. And so that's the reason people are always asking us questions. What do you have in a crossbred boar that'll make my pigs grow? Guys, we've got as good a crossbreds as anybody. There's no one that can predict that. I can't with any honesty say, oh yeah, his pigs grow fast. Well, on another exotic female, not always true. So that's the reason, guys, that when we're talking to you guys, we're talking about, let's use a purebred boar. If you really want growth, we can go back to that small gene pool, breed it to this big gene pool,
Shrink the gene pool down.
right, and generate a lot more consistency and growth.
Get your heterosis bumped up a little bit.
Yep. So I don't know, guys, if this will make sense to you guys or not, but it's pretty factual that that's how genetics works. Now the numbers I gave you are a little distorted, but that's okay. You get the general idea, and that was a big thing today. I wanted to get across to you guys was that sometimes that can be an issue. Now, inbreeding, Mitchell. We've got 2-3 crossbred boars that are inbred, and inbred is what?
Well, I mean, basically the sires represented on both sides of the pedigree.
Or in a lot of cases, a dam.
Or dam.
Yeah. So when you inbreed a crossbred, guys, you can take a litter of crossbreds and inbreed for 7 generations. I mean, just always keeping a boar and a gilt, breed them together. Keep a boar and a gilt, breed them together out of the same litter. 7 generations later, you could consider those purebreds. It'd be a purebred crossbred boar because you continue to inbreed and shrink that gene pool back down. So when we're out looking for boars, we're intrigued with these inbred boars that have smaller gene pools. Those boars, will they make your hogs grow faster? Yes, they're not going to make them grow as fast as some of the purebred boars, but they will help a little bit.
In the world of crossbreds, they'll make them grow faster.
Yeah, that's
compared
right.
to other crosses for sure.
Yeah, that's right. So anyhow, guys, when we are making all these bred gilts that we make, and we make a lot of them, that is a value of stuff. And some of you guys that are listening, you said, well, he's already tried to talk me into a purebred. I've got 4 of them, Well, guys, the reason is those purebred females have got a small gene pool. We can breed them to these exotic boars and put all that power into that.
Which we do that a lot.
Yeah.
We do that a lot.
And guys, they win a lot of shows. But when you have a purebred on one side or the other, all of a sudden, you've got your performance back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's performance back. So anyhow, like Rick was mentioned a little bit ago, guys, I'm sure if you've talked to us a little bit, someone's mentioned to you, well, what do you think about breeding it to a purebred? Same deal, guys. If you use a purebred boar that's got enough look to him to make show pigs with that small gene pool and put him back on your exotic sired females, that could be big league too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the question I was going to ask, and you kind of answered my question already, is can you make show pigs with a purebred boar?
All people do it all the time.
All the time. Everyone thinks they need to use a crossbred boar only and exclusively to make their show pigs with. And if you were paying attention to a lot of stuff Randy was talking about, especially dependent on your sows and how crossed up your sows are, a lot of times, we end up talking people into using the Hampshire boar or the Yorkshire boar or Berkshire boar or whatever.
Duroc boar, yeah.
Duroc boar to make their show pigs with, and they call us back and say, man, that was a really good litter of pigs. I'm sure glad you talked me into using a purebred boar.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention any names, guys, but I know a lot of people that sell a lot of club pigs. I'm not talking about they have 3 litters. I'm talking about they sell 800 or 500 or 1,500 a year. These are guys who've been around for a long, long time. And you'd be shocked the amount of those guys that use purebred influence on one side or the other.
Oh, yeah.
Either purebred boars or purebred females. And these are all guys that their name. Every one of them. They're all popular guys. They all do a good job. They win a lot of hog shows. But you would be shocked the amount of those guys that use purebred influence on one side or the other. So it's a very popular. Now, out on the internet or on Facebook or whatever, and you're talking to Joe Blow, and he made 3 crossbred litters last year. And he said, no, you got to use cross on cross on cross on cross on cross. Guys, I just wanted you to understand what can happen when you do that. Believe me, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those litters made. But you guys, if you haven't had the problem yet, you will have. And if you haven't had the problem yet, you've talked to guys that are complaining about these hogs not growing. That little chart we just talked about is the reason why they don't grow.
Yeah. So getting through the crossbred versus the purebred versus all the genetics and stuff like that. Specifically, we kind of touched on it earlier. Some of the inbred boars here at our own farm that we used, crossbred boars that are inbred that could improve growth. We were talking about them here before we started. T2 and Jigsaw.
No.
Tell me specifically about those two boars. Why you're considering those to be ones that could increase growth with being a crossbred boar?
Well, they both have a lot smaller gene pools. T2 on the sire side and Jigsaw on the dam side. And anytime you can make that gene pool smaller, you've got benefits, guys, and more consistency. Both of those boars, now Jigsaw, this is his first season. And if you go to our crossbred boar page, he's about halfway down. Not because he's the worst boar, not because he's the best boar. It's kind of where he fit in at price wise. But might be something you might want to consider. T2, very, very, very close. The season's not over, guys. But T2 of the crossbred boars of a year ago has had about as good a record as anything so far. He's been doing a very, very good job. And part of the reason that he does a good job is because you get more good hogs out there. If you sell 8 pigs in that litter, 6 or 7 or maybe all 8 of them make them to the fair. So your laws of averaging go up some. But pig quality-wise, performance-wise, he's done a very nice job, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of T2 pigs I'm feeding right now in my show pig barn for my daughter's going to the fair next week.
Yeah.
That I'm extremely happy with.
Yeah.
Grew really well.
Yeah, so we don't want to promote individual boards. You guys can find out what boards you want to use, and you might find boards that you like better because of certain things, and that's all okay.
Yeah.
But big thing is for you to have a little better understanding of how genetics actually work.
Yep, for sure. Switching gears slightly here. I know this is a topic we kind of touched on a little bit in a previous episode, but we feel it's an important one, so we're going to touch on it again. Mitch, I want you to kind of talk a little bit about now, when you guys come and buy a bred gilt from us, you get this exact same paper, but this will apply to literally anybody that has a gilt. We can even upload that or send it to you or whatever if you want to read it word for word. Basically, the question is how do I get my gilt ready to breed? If I'm coming, from a county fair or a state fair, or I just had a couple gilts that were, when my growing barn that I'm getting ready to breed. I know we touched on it a little bit, so bear with us, but it is a very important topic. Mitch, give me just some of the few basics that we need to be doing if our gilts, maybe 250 pounds. We just think about getting ready to breed. What's some stuff that we do that we want to make sure we get in order before we actually do order that semen and get it coming.
Well, a lot of these gilts that you guys are showing at your county fair, state fair, maybe you've bought them at Louisville or national shows or whatever. They've been fed to the hilt. They've been pampered. They've been primped on. I mean, they've been fed all this show feed to look like they want them to look, to have muscle, to have body, to have build. Basically, the first thing you want to do when you bring them gilts home is you want to try to put them on about a 12% sow feed, no more than 4 pounds a day. You want to try to melt some of that muscle out of them. That muscle just kind of restricts their ability to have pigs. So you want to melt as much muscle out of them as you can. And doing the 12% sow feed will help with that. Another thing you want to do is you want to vaccinate these gilts. You want to give them their Circo, Myco, or not Circo, Lepto, Parvo.
Mm-hmm.
We even give an erysipelas shot. You want to vaccinate these gilts kind of as soon as you get them home. And then you want to vaccinate them again 2 weeks later. And you want to vaccinate them at least 2 weeks prior to breeding. So you want to vaccinate them twice, 2 weeks apart and 2 weeks prior to breeding.
Yeah. No, it's really important stuff. We want to make sure we kind of touch on it again. We're going to keep beating that same topic. You'll probably hear it again from us too, because it is important. We breed 1,000 gilts a year for people, and a couple hundred sows here of our own, and we're following this exact same set of rules, that we're kind of preaching to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reason for it, because it does work.
Like the first thing I tell them when someone wants to talk about this is you got this really, really pretty gilt. You spent the last 4 or 5 months making her look as good as she could look, and now you want me to make her look ugly?
Mm.
And I always tell them, I said, go take a picture hang the picture in the barn, and you can look at her every day, and then get this gilt into her work clothes because you want her to be a brood sow. If you want her to be a brood sow, she needs to look like a brood sow.
They'll be more productive if they're thin.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Was it thin sows make money?
Mhm.
Fat sows cost you money?
You know, guys, I haven't heard that in the last 20 years, but 40, 50 years ago, that's exactly what those guys said. Yep, exactly. Yeah, and they were true. It's 100% true.
True. That part hasn't changed.
Mm-mm.
That part hasn't changed.
Mm-mm.
Closing remarks. Anything you guys want to add here? We kind of covered some pretty scientific stuff here, but it's stuff that we wanted to make sure you guys knew as we're getting into our breeding season here. You know, stuff's going to be kicking off. It already kind of is, but we felt like it's some kind of important stuff we wanted to cover with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to call and talk about it, we can sure do that. I mean,
Yeah.
we're open to phone calls all the time, but just food for thought.
Food for thought. I like it.
Yep.
So I promised you guys earlier I was going to ask a question here at the end. And if you were paying attention or you want to go back and rewatch the episode a little bit, you can do that. So the question of the day from the podcast, if you were following along, I want you to put the answer down in the comments. If you have the correct answer, we will draw a name and we'll send you a prize pack here from Shipley Swine Genetics. What level of cross makes maximum heterosis?
F1, F2,
F2,
F3,
F3,
F4,
etc.
Yep.
What level of cross do we breed to obtain maximum heterosis? If you know the answer, if you were paying attention, if you weren't paying attention, go back and watch the beginning again.
Hang on.
Watch the episode. Make them watch it. If you know the answer, put it down in the comments. We'll send you something cool. Other than that, we are going to sign off here until next time. This was episode 4. We hope you're tuning in. Like always, leave a comment down in the comments there if you want to have a topic, or just call us on the phone or send us a message. If there's anything you want us to go over in these podcasts, we'd sure love to have some ideas. We do have some special guests.
Yeah, that'd be very cool. Yeah, very cool.
Without saying anyone's names, we'll leave surprises on that. But we do have some surprise guests coming up in the future here.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually kind of excited about. We've got 3 or 4 people or so lined up.
Mm-hmm.
We may be reaching out to you, have you on our episode.
Yeah, it'd be great.
So stay tuned. All right, guys. Signing off here. Shipley Swine Genetics, the Hog Jack Podcast. Until next time.
See you guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you.